For you out there listening, you're a world-changing human being. Your thoughts, your actions, just being you, you are changing the world. So keep it up, and I acknowledge you for showing up at whatever level, whatever capacity you are. I want to support you however I can, and I think one of the best ways is to stay tuned to this 12-hour marathon. Keep learning, keep growing, keep developing yourself. Number 2, though, is if you are ready to launch your podcast and get that message out to the world, I love helping people launch their podcast. One of my favorite things to do. So if you want support with that, let me know. And also, if you're ready to get your message out on the 12-hour marathon as a guest for becoming your greatest possible self, send me a message and let me know that you're thinking about that, and we'll see if it's a great fit for both of us and if you are a great fit for becoming your greatest possible self. I look forward to talking to you. Send me an email, chris@beyourgps.com. That's BEYOUR-GPS.com, chris@beyourgps.com. You can find me on facebook.com/th3burns. And you can also find me on Instagram @IamMillionaireChris. Would love to hear from you, talk to you, and see how we can support you in getting your message out even more. And next, we're going to do the iTunes review of the week. And this week, it's by Rach Gibster13. Actionable tips to up-level your life. I absolutely love what Chris has done with this podcast. He brings such great energy to each episode and really leaves you with actionable tips so you can implement today to make a change. So grateful to be taught by him. Thanks so much, Rach. I appreciate you. If you want to give us a review for the podcast, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes and you can search and you can do that there. Let us know what you love, what you want to see more of on the show, how we can make it even better for you. And definitely, while you're there, subscribe so you can get all the latest updates. We release an episode just about every day, so you're getting constant inspiration, different perspectives, different stories, walks of life, and experts who are helping you become your greatest possible self. So it's a lot of fun, definitely. And you can also just search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self and discover the podcasting platform that works best for you and get this show straight to your device or wherever you listen to podcasts. So thanks in advance for doing that. I appreciate you, and keep growing into your GPS. So I'm going to introduce the woman of the hour, Annette, in just a second here. Before that, though, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes, be ready to receive the gold that we are going to be talking about. So much juice in this conversation. I can feel it already. It's going to rock. So make sure you stick around all the way through till the end. Stick till the end, because you never know what one idea can transform the rest of your life. What are you going to discover in this conversation? We are going to find out. So stick around and we will see. Let's introduce Annette and then we'll bring her on the screen. So after having coached over 250 clients one-on-one and leading a small international company to cross-border expansion, as Chief Culture Officer, Annette felt a calling to get the message of sacred gifts out into the world for executives, individuals, and teams. She left her fast-paced role and ventured once again into entrepreneurship. Having previously built a multi-coach coaching practice with a licensed program for coaches across North America, Annette was ready to take the challenge, ready to take the challenge on. She was ready to take the knowledge from those experiences and apply it to something of deep meaning to her, helping others to discover their sacred gifts and to apply those gifts to create greater work and life satisfaction. She is an international speaker, trainer, and coach, and teaches on the topics of gift and purpose, providing a fresh perspective on meaning and purpose. She is a mom to 2 girls, has been married for 14 years, and is committed to creating a life by design and showing you how you can too. And we're blessed to have her here with us today. Annette, are you ready to rock the house, Superwoman?
I am ready. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I love it. Thanks for being here, Annette. We're going to dive in and have an amazing conversation. So we're going to start with the theme of today, which is sharing your gifts. And, I thought of you when creating this theme because I was just like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And, Adam before, he was talking about, the appearance and how we can share our gifts through that. But you really have a unique take on this. So what does it mean to you, sharing your gifts? How has that impacted your life, Annette?
Yeah. Well, what it means to me and how it's impacted my life are really great places to start. So I started my journey in personal development and really went full in on understanding who I was as a human, right? Yeah. And I loved that. I loved knowing what are my beliefs, what are my thoughts, what are my habits, But this question of who am I kept coming up. And I stumbled upon this workshop called Discover Your Sacred Gifts. And it was in that moment I like to say, when it was like the veil lifted and I saw myself through entirely new eyes, really understanding myself at a more deeper spiritual level, and combining that with who I am, my humanness, and you and yours. And how that's impacted my life is just through not only knowing my own gifts, but also knowing what they're not, and then helping other people to discover theirs, to create that feeling of purpose in their lives.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. I love it. And I love how you were asking the question I think we're all asking. Who am I? What am I here for? Why this existence? Why this body? Why this lifetime? And to really, to get that clarity and to feel like connected with that, like knowing, and it just feels good. It feels like I'm on purpose. I know who I am, what I stand for, and why I'm here. That's one of the greatest gifts we can give to ourselves.
Yeah, especially when you're in the realm of personal development. I think it's a question that really attracts a lot of people, and probably a lot of your listeners, is that question of who am I? Why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? What is my purpose? But I will say one thing about purpose, and this is that sort of fresh perspective kind of thing. And this idea comes from the creator of the Discover Your Sacred Gifts program. Her name's Monique McDonald. I know you've met her before, but this idea of not finding your purpose, that puts us on a quest to figure something out and to try a whole bunch of things, and almost gives us this impression that what we've done to date had no purpose if we're still looking for one. Instead, what we want to do is help people to figure out how to feel on purpose in various areas throughout their lives, and to recognize where you felt on purpose previously, and help you to align with your gifts so that you feel more on purpose now. And it's really a perspective shift. I think the main thing that comes up for me, and I've coached a lot of people, is that I see, let's call it an epidemic of people who are unhappy and unfulfilled, who are searching for something, who don't know how to put the pieces together. And knowing and understanding your gifts is just one piece of the puzzle to feeling on purpose. But once you understand how to apply your gifts and align with them, then you can create this feeling of knowing that what you're doing actually matters, that helps you to make choices that align with your gifts so that you feel more on purpose more often. If you're a team leader, helping you to align certain people in various roles so that they feel more on purpose in their lives. So, and if you're a coach, helping other people to discover what their gifts are, and helping your clients to really live into that. I know you said a lot of the people who watch this and listen to this are coaches. So, knowing and understanding your gifts gives you a whole new perspective about purpose, because our gifts are in us as our way of giving back. So that's one of the main key takeaways. They're our way of being of service. They're our way of feeling fulfilled, and they equip us with what we need to feel on purpose. They don't create purpose. They equip us with what we need to feel on purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I think the big paradigm shift that you're inviting people is that gifts are not outside of you. Purpose is not outside of you. It's not somewhere you need to get to, but it's simply being aware of what has been there all along. What have the patterns been, and how do we illuminate that and say, okay, that's who I am. So how do I best use who I am and apply and direct focus who I am to be able to serve others and create a prosperous, fulfilling, meaningful life for myself?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, stop trying to be someone you're not, right?
Yeah.
It really allows us to get in touch with that part of us that's been there all along. I'll give you the definition of sacred gifts, because sometimes when I share it, it's a bit of a light bulb for some people too, because our gifts are not things that we learn. So our sacred gifts are unexplained abilities that we have from birth till death that allow us to do ordinary things extraordinarily well. And there's a lot in that definition. So they're in us when we're born. They're in us when we die. They may go dormant. So there may be opportunities or times in your life when the gifts are not, let's say, activated. They're dormant, but they never go away. And so if there's a person who feels maybe unfulfilled, they're feeling like they've lost that zest. They've had it before, but they don't have it anymore. Chances are either they're not applying their gifts anymore, and they need to reawaken that gift through an opportunity, or they're applying their gifts to something that's not meaningful to them. So it can, there's a bunch of different things in this formula.
Yeah.
But we want to look at and understand that our gifts are not things that we learn. They're not skills. And I love learning skills, by the way. I'm not saying don't learn skills. I'm saying that our gifts are in us and they're innate in us. And when the opportunity comes up for us to utilize our gifts, it's like we snap right into it. I'm sure you know moments like that, right? Yeah, when you're let's say you're exhausted, it's the end of the day, you're lying on the couch, you've just had a hard day, something happened, your computer crashed, whatever. But the phone rings and somebody needs to talk to you. And if you have the gift of encouragement, you're there.
Yeah.
It's our way of giving back. If you don't have the gift of encouragement, you might lie on the couch and go away. I don't stop. Right. That phone stop ringing, right? But once you know what your gifts are, you can live into them.
So powerful. So, Annette, I want to go back into your journey. This is so incredible, and really just illuminating the definition of sacred gifts for us and how it's been showing up for you and how you've been teaching people it. It's incredible. And I want to know, how did we get to where we are today, being the speaker, being the coach for it, coaching so many people, and really making this difference in their lives. Take us back on the journey. Where did your journey of asking, who am I, where did that begin for you?
That's a great question. Like, where did the journey of asking who I am start? That started when I was a kid. I was just that kid. Yeah. I know that's not the same for everybody, but I remember picking up my first personal development books when I was in my early teens.
Wow.
And just really hungry for it. And so in my early 20s, and I'll take you through just a little bit through the journey, I stumbled upon Peak Potentials. And I don't know if you're familiar with Peak Potentials. Yes.
Definitely.
Okay. Not called that anymore. But back in the day, I went to one of the Millionaire Mind Intensives, and I walked into that room of 1,000 people or whatever it was. And I was like, there's so much here. I'm hungry. I want to learn more. I ended up working for the company and working with the Success Tracks program at the time, coaching a lot of their members, and then ventured off into my own company and built the multi-coach coaching practice. But throughout that journey, like that, I'm talking a span of like 10, 15 years there. Yeah. Throughout that journey, I never stopped learning. I was always hungry. Like, there's a book this high beside my bed, right? Of books. And there weren't podcasts back then, but now there are. It's like eating and digesting the podcast, the learning. I think I've done over 30 courses and camps. Like, it's just been the thing.
Yeah.
But the course that really changed my perspective on purpose and why we're here was knowing and understanding what my gifts are. And that made everything else make sense. Because up until then, I was just trying to figure out my place in the world, if you will. What do I need to do for work? How can I impact more people? What can I do to make a difference? What are my habits? What are my thoughts? How can I be a better, I wasn't a mom back then, but now I am. So I ask those questions now. How can I be a better mom? But knowing and understanding my gifts, when I stumbled upon that, it was 2008. So it's been 11 years. Wow. And I immediately fell in love with it, connected with the creator of the program, Monique, developed a coaching program for her and her graduates. And ever since, we've been working together. Now I'm working on the business development for the program, because we want to get this out there to everybody. Thousands of people have gone through the program, but that's not enough. Yeah. Thousands isn't enough. So we need more people to understand what their gifts are, so that there's this letting go of who we're not and embracing who we truly are. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were asking the questions of, how can I improve my habits? How can I be a better version of myself before you took this program and started learning and discovering your sacred gifts? How did the questions, how you saw the world and the questions you asked and the thoughts that you thought, how did that change after discovering your sacred gifts?
Oh, you have asked great questions. It really shifted and changed because I got a clear glimpse into my soul. So whether that's controversial for me to say or not, I don't know.
No, bring the spiritual.
So I always had this feeling of knowingness that there was something more. Yeah. And I had an understanding of the law of attraction, and I had an understanding of all these different spiritual principles. I knew we had a soul. I didn't understand it though. I didn't quite get it. So in when what I learned when I did the course was kind of think about, okay, here I am. Here I am in my humanness. There you are in your humanness. I can see you. I can describe you. You can describe me. I'm a woman. You just did. I've been married 14 years. I have 2 kids. So I wear the title of mom. I wear the title of wife. I wear the title of business owner. We can describe ourselves in our humanness. It includes our personality. It includes our thoughts, our beliefs, our ego, our religion, our culture, where we come from. All of that is part of our humanness. But our sacred gifts reside in our beingness, or our soul, whatever you want to call it. And it can be in complete contrast to your humanness. Our sacred gifts have nothing to do with who we are as human beings. So the big takeaway I started to shift, and what I really started to understand, was how I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. But what is that spiritual being here for? What is he or she? I don't know in my beingness if I have a gender, but what is this spiritual being here for?
Yeah.
And my beingness is where my gifts reside. Therefore, if my beingness wants to come out in the world and express itself in its entirety, then I will be living into my gifts, sharing my gifts with the world. So there are 24 sacred gifts, and I got to know which of the gifts I have, and then also let go of the ones that I don't. Right? Let go. Oh my gosh, for some people that's the biggest relief. But yeah, and that was the shift for me, was the glimpse into my soul. And then it was no turning back from there. Like, got into the human evolution and consciousness conversations, and all of that really started to fill me up more.
Wow. I love it. I love it. And so I heard you say there that you discovered which ones you were and which ones you weren't. And I think you mentioned earlier, like, trying to be something that we're not. I think a lot of people are attempting to, like, model and replicate success, people who inspire them, leaders, influencers, coaches, business owners, even, neighbors and family members, whatever, and I think it's important to know what is our gifts and what isn't, so that we don't try to be playing someone else's game, winning at somebody else's game or with their rules, and we know who we are and what our rules for success and happiness and fulfillment are.
I say knowing and understanding which gifts you don't have actually eliminates the guilt, the shame, and the blame that we experience when we are not in tune with that. So as an example, so there's a score sheet and assessment, all this stuff that you go through when you figure out what your gifts are. And I scored really high in the sacred gift of service. But in my beingness, I know that I don't have that gift. The sacred gift of service is one where it's more task oriented. You're kind of like the backbone of an organization. You see the things that need to get done. I learned all of that. Through both of my parents who have this gift. And I learned how to see what needs to be done, to get things done, to do all the tasky type things. But it doesn't fill me up. Like, it doesn't bring me joy. And one of the characteristics of a sacred gift is that you feel fulfilled when you are utilizing the gift. So through the course, I got to realize, well, it's not a sacred gift for me. It's a skill. I've learned how to do the tasks and get things done and wipe the counter in the bathroom, so it's nice for the next person, that kind of thing. But for some people, doing those things actually brings them joy. It actually has them give them a sense of purpose, of they're kind of behind the scenes. And when someone with that gift realizes this is actually a sacred gift and life would not operate the way it does without you in it, that's hugely life-changing for some people, because they just think they're doing a thing, right? But now it has a purpose. So, yeah.
And it's really like, you can tell, am I on track or off track? This becomes a new GPS, so to speak, of directing your life, a new barometer, a new thermostat, a new thing that says, hey, am I operating in my zone of genius. I think a lot of people talk about that a lot as well, as like, what's your zone of genius? Stay in that 80% of the time, and then have 20% of the time doing the administrative and all the other stuff that you got to do as part of being a human. But like, how can you engineer and design your life, create your life so that you're in that genius zone, that those sacred gifts 80% of the time?
Yes. And may I say that there is a gift that absolutely loves the administrative stuff and
of course.
Right? So if you're the type, so I'm going to getting a little glimpse here that maybe that isn't one of your sacred gifts. Okay. Yeah. So you've got more like the visionary gift and the teaching gift, and probably because you're a coach, maybe the sacred gift of encouragement, and because you love conversations, that kind of thing. And maybe not the sacred gift of planning. Well, isn't that a blessing to know that? And to know that it's not in your genius zone, or it's not in your, your realm of your gifts, but there are other people out there with that gift who would love to be of service to you if they align with your vision, right? If they align with who you are. So we need to know who we are and what our gifts are, and let other people do the stuff that they love to do.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm sure that people can become aware of what their sacred gifts are when they have a conversation with you, when they go through, one of your programs or courses. What do they need to know in this conversation before they're ready to make that kind of a decision and like take the next step? I mean, there's probably people out there who are saying, "Man, this is awesome. I want to know my sacred gift. I want to take the next step. What is it?" So we're going to tell them how they can do that as well. And for the people who are still like on the fence and they're like, it sounds interesting. I need to know a little bit more about it and how I can get the information. What are the next steps for them? So I want to address both of those. Where did you want to start, Annette?
Oh my goodness, where do you want to start? Oh, I'm good with whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, let's talk about how does someone start to look at patterns that they might have had in their journey to start illuminating what some of their sacred gifts might be.
Okay, I love that. So in the actual Sacred Gifts program, we divide it into 3 parts. And the first part is that. The first part is really about looking for clues of sacred gifts in your life. So we teach something, we'll call them the 4 signs of sacred gifts. And the 4 signs of sacred gifts are the following. So it's an acronym, FREE, F-R-E-E. You want to look for feedback. The first place where you can look for a clue in sacred gifts, whether or not you have a gift or not, is the feedback that you get from others. Okay. So as a visionary in your business, or as a podcast, presenter or interviewer, people are going to be giving you feedback constantly about what's working for them, what's not. And more often than not, when you feel energized and alive with the feedback that you get, it's resonating with you. That could be a clue that you have a sacred gift. So you hear things like, "I don't know how you do what you do. You make that look so easy." For some specific gifts, "I've never thought of it that way before. I wish I could do it the way that you do it." And sometimes when you're in this leadership role, you just want to help people to live into a greater version of themselves. And sometimes it's just them admiring you in your gifts, if that makes sense. So the first clue of a sacred gift is to look for the feedback, or to listen to the feedback that people give you. So the first letter is F, stands for feedback. R stands for repeated patterns. So if I look back in my life and I look at the games I used to play and who I wanted to be when I grew up. Okay. So if I look at the stuff that I was actually just going through this with my girls, because we have this book that they keep track of who do you want to be when you grow up and all that kind of stuff. So I was thinking back to mine, and it was always teacher. It was teacher, mom, teacher. Like, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. When we instead of playing house, we played school. Guess who got to be the teacher? Me. When we, and I had all my students sitting there. When I was in high school, I was tutoring people in math. When I got to university, I did my degree in kinesiology, and I started teaching exercise rehabilitation at the pool. And I started doing cardiac rehab and teaching people about heart health and physical health and wellness, well-being. Okay, anyway, so you look at the whole trajectory of your life, and you look for those repeated patterns of things that you're doing over and over. And what was I doing? I was teaching, right? teaching in different ways, different vehicles. And that is one of my sacred gifts. I'm using it right now to talk about sacred gifts. And, and now I use my sacred gift of teaching in various vehicles. I do corporate training. I do webinars and podcasts, various vehicles for work, and then also at home, helping my kids with their homework, helping a friend through something, right? So we've got these gifts that we can see the repeated patterns for throughout our lives. The third, I guess, letter E is energizing to you. So when you are in your gifts, you will feel naturally alive. So think about the things that make you feel excited. Think about the things that energize you. Think about the things that you could lose track of time doing. So we have people go through those exercises to reflect on that. And then the last E is extraordinary results, which is actually part of the definition, right? Our gifts create extraordinary results. So these are the things that you do that you make look effortless, that other people they sort of throw up their hands sometimes. They're like, I don't know how you do what you do, but you're awesome. Here, it's for you, right? So you're getting extraordinary results where somebody else would maybe need to put in a lot more effort to make that happen. Wow. I'll give you a good example of one of the gifts. So there's a sacred gift of encouragement. I already mentioned it really quickly. And communication is a tool that we can learn, right? We can learn how to listen. We can learn how to ask questions. We can learn how to clarify and verify and all of those pieces to be an effective communicator. But someone with the sacred gift of encouragement doesn't have to think of any of that. They just hold the space, and just by their presence alone, someone feels better by having them listen. If you don't have the sacred gift and you're constantly wanting to give advice, or you just have a really hard time following the rules of communication, cut yourself some slack, give yourself a break. You might not have this sacred gift, but you can still learn how to be a more effective communicator, right? So, so extraordinary results is the last one.
I love it. I just totally see myself in the encourager role, because I love listening. I love just holding space for people to feel heard, to feel seen, to feel validated. And I think it's incredible just being a witness. Like the act of witnessing something as a consciousness, as a presence, witnessing another soul. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, and if you have that gift, you'll hear things like, "I've never told anyone this before, but can I share something with you?" Or you'll be standing in the grocery store line and someone will just start talking to you, or on the airplane, right? You would just want to get to your book, but someone starts talking to you because you have this energy about you that is inviting conversation. And again, it's not an advice giving gift. There's another gift for that, but it is just a holding space gift. And people feel better just after talking to you. They'll say it. They'll say, "Geez, I just feel better after talking to you. Thanks for listening." So that's the feedback that you can get.
It's beautiful. I love it. So just to go over the formula again, the F is for feedback. And it's important that we listen to that and hear what are the signs that people are giving us, saying that, what feels like flow, what it's like, how are you so natural? How are you so good at this? Just doing this, you make it look so easy, I think you said. That's great feedback. The repeated patterns, what can we see along our life? That's the R, repeated patterns. What have we done again and again? For you, it was the teacher, right? Being in that teacher role and wanting to teach and illuminate knowledge and wisdom for people. The first E is energizing to you. So after we are in our sacred gifts, it leaves us more alive and leaves us full of energy, full of just presence and juice to go do even more after that. And the last E is extraordinary results. So things that just seem effortless. We can do big things. I'm curious, what do you think for doing a 12-hour marathon, 12-hour live stream marathon? What's a gift for that? That's pretty.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's a lot of gifts in here. Well, first of all, I don't know if you're planning and organizing it or not, or if you have a whole team behind the scenes.
Yeah,
doing
I do. Yes.
So that's a different set of gifts.
Okay.
What I see in you right away, Chris, and it's not up to me to tell you what your gifts are, but I can give you some insight. Maybe you can say, "Yeah, I think I might have that gift," or "No, I'm just, I just make it look easy."
Right.
But But obviously the gift of vision, because you're creating something that hasn't been there before. You're attracting a team and people who want to get behind you in your mission. You're kind of forging a path, and you see above the trees. So you're seeing 5 years, 10 years ahead, where the rest of the people in your group might be in the trees, cutting down the forest as they go, and making a path and making the trail, so other people can follow along. So the gift of vision would be alive and well. The gift of encouragement, because there's conversation, you're asking questions, the questions are being answered of you. There's the gift of knowledge, I would probably assume is a potential gift for you, because you're hungry. Like, you want to learn, and you want to gather that information, and you wouldn't be talking to hundreds of people or thousands of people, picking their brain about a different topic, if you weren't hungry to learn yourself, right? So that's just a handful of gifts that you might have. And I'm sure you can see the clues in your life and the feedback, the repeated patterns throughout your life. But you'll probably have some that I can't see. And we would have to be in deeper conversations. Most people, I don't want you to get stuck on a number, but most people have somewhere, let's say, between 4 and 8 gifts. Some people have 10, some people, but it's somewhere in that range. It's not like you take a score and it spits out, here are your top 5 gifts and the rest don't have. It doesn't work like that. It's really an application of, these are the results that I'm seeing in my life. When we see the results, and how we feel about those results, then we can assume that a gift might be at play. I do want to clarify one thing, if I may.
Sure.
So those 4 signs that I gave you of a sacred gift, those are the clues, what to look for. If you're kind of in that, well, where do I start? How do I start looking for what my gifts might be? So those 4 signs are what you might start looking for. But if it's okay with you, I'd love to go through the Feel on Purpose formula and give some insight,
Let's do it.
to the listeners on how to feel more on purpose in their lives.
Yes.
Okay. So this also has 4 parts to it. And if you have a pen and paper, people are going to want to write this down, because it's very insightful and life-changing. The first piece of feeling on purpose in your life is to know what your gifts are. I'm always going to start there, because that's what we teach.
Of course.
Which of the 24 sacred gifts do you have? Which ones do you not have? And so that you'll start aligning your gifts in different ways in your life. So the first piece of the Feel on Purpose formula is to know what your gifts are. The second piece is to apply those gifts to something meaningful to you. So let's take my teaching example as an example. If I were teaching somebody how to play badminton, which I don't know how to do, but I probably could be very effective at it. If somebody taught me the skills and told me what to do, I probably could teach someone else how to play badminton with some practice, but it wouldn't necessarily be meaningful to me. So even though I would be operating in a gift, I wouldn't necessarily feel on purpose. Another example might be, you're a writer and you want to write travel stories. Okay, that's what's meaningful to you, is sharing cultures around the world and talking about travel. But your writing job is maybe writing marketing copy for shoes, as an example. You may not feel on purpose. So even though you're living in your gifts, you're not applying it to something meaningful to you. Similarly, if you're working in an environment that's meaningful to you, but not activating your gifts, you also will not feel on purpose. You see where those 2 are important, right?
Yeah.
So apply your gifts to something meaningful to you. Some people, if you don't know what's meaningful to you, think about what you're passionate about. Think about what kind of legacy you might want to leave. Think about the things that where you want to make a change in the world. Think about the things that are important to you, why you wake up in the morning. We all have something that gets us out of bed in the morning. So what's meaningful to you and your gifts. The third piece is that you know who is benefiting from the application of your gifts. So this can happen a lot in, if you think about, this is where our personality can get in the way, actually. So our humanness, and why we need personal development to break through our shells. So let's say you're a writer, and you wrote a screenplay, and it's in the top drawer of your desk, and nobody is ever going to read it because you won't get out of your own way and submit it to somebody so that they read it. You will not feel on purpose, even though you used your gifts, you applied it to something meaningful to you. Nobody is benefiting from your gift. So you won't feel on purpose. You'll feel, lost, unfulfilled. So we need to get that feedback from people that what we're doing matters. If you're a team leader, and I know you are, Chris, so there are people behind the scenes in your organization who are doing a lot of stuff and hopefully living in their gifts, right? And you get feedback from your listeners, and you get feedback, you get the thank yous, the kudos, I loved the show, it was great. Thank you for what you do. You get that. So you know who's benefiting from you doing this work. The people behind the scenes, unless you are one of those, and I imagine you probably are, like modern leaders who make sure that they're really acknowledging their team, thanking their team, sharing that feedback. In some organizations, people never hear that stuff and they don't feel purposeful in their work.
Wow.
So they might still love what they're doing. They might still be in their gifts, but if they don't hear the feedback, then they're not going to feel on purpose. They're going to go find somewhere else to know that what they're doing matters and to know that somebody is benefiting from their gifts. So as a team leader, right, you and I are both team leaders. We want people to feel on purpose. We want people to be happy in their work. We want to eliminate turnover. We want to increase retention in our organizations. So when we do those types of things, one of our jobs is then to let our teams know that what they're doing matters and who said it. What kind of feedback are we getting? Why what they're doing actually matters. Then they will feel more engaged and purposeful in their work.
So I love this because even as a team leader, you can acknowledge and praise and do all these things that makes a team feel good. And if it's always coming from you, quote unquote, then it could kind of get stale and say, okay, well, of course, he's supposed to tell me that. But if they get the feedback that the work that we're doing, this project, this mission, this, organization, what we're out to create, and the community that we're impacting, people's lives that are actually changing because of whatever it is that's being produced, whatever their work, whatever their sacred gifts are being applied to. When you get that feedback, then it's like another level of like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing good in the world. My life, my purpose, I feel on purpose.
Totally. 100%. So it's really important to make sure that you're giving your team that feedback. And if you're operating, okay, let's say we're just utilizing one of our gifts out in the world, and we don't see the kudos, we don't see the thanks. Not necessarily that like you're craving appreciation. That's not what it's about. It's just about knowing that there is somebody benefiting. If you don't see that end result, then it can feel somewhat empty, like that you're doing it for no reason, right? So that's the third piece. The fourth piece of the Feel on Purpose formula is that you apply your gifts to something meaningful to you and you know who's benefiting, but you're in a vehicle that aligns with your humanness. And this is where it's important to really understand who you are in your humanness. Because if you are the type of person, let's say, who loves the game of business. Okay, Chris, you love the game of business. Let's play this business game. It's a game. We're going to knock it out of the park. We're going to do this thing. And if you're the type of person who really is not business oriented, really does not want that pressure, that stress, starting a business, even if they're in their gifts, doing something meaningful to them and knowing who's benefit, the business will suck the life out of them.
Wow.
Right? So instead, we need to find vehicles that align with who we truly are, and vice versa. You could be an employee using your gifts. It's meaningful to you. You know who benefits, but you need that. You have that entrepreneurial spirit, and you need to build your thing. You need to leave your legacy. So we see that all the time too, right? So knowing who you are and what vehicle works for you. So some examples of vehicles might be a podcast. Here we are on one. Ta-da! Facebook Live could be a vehicle, could be speaking. So speaking is not a gift, it's a vehicle. If you have the sacred gift of writing, a vehicle could be a blog, it could be a book, it could be a screenplay, right? So there's various vehicles that we can use. It could be a part-time job, a contract job, a freelance job. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So we have to find that vehicle that aligns with who we are as a human so that we are being true to ourselves.
And that it sounds like that could take experimentation too, like looking at where we've thrived, maybe on a team playing baseball, like that was a vehicle, so to speak, that was fun for us. And maybe when we had to go study on our own, this I'm giving my own example. I love teams. Played baseball, played hockey. I loved being on the team, but when I had to go study on my own, like I wasn't fulfilled with that. Like I felt like I'm all by myself. Like this is no fun. But like jumping into a video game, playing with teammates, being a part of a mission and a story with multiple people and personalities and characters, like I felt a part of an ecosystem, a community.
Sure.
So I recognize that people are an important part of me to be happy and fulfilled.
Yeah, that's a really good example. Let's use the baseball as an example just for a second, okay?
Yeah.
Because if we look at the sport, there's a lot of people who've gone through this program with me and they're like, but if I could, I would surf all day. Or if I could, I would play baseball all day or whatever it is, right? Because it's fun for them. Mm-hmm. Now, the baseball or the surfing isn't necessarily the gift at play, because you do have to have a beneficiary of a gift. Remember, our gifts are not ours for our benefit. They're ours to benefit others. They're ours to give away. That's a really clear distinction. So in the baseball example, although you felt alive and energized and you loved being around the people, I imagine, maybe I'm just using me as an example here, but I imagine you were really encouraging to your teammates, that you cheered them on, that you encouraged them during hard times. Yep. That would be your sacred gift of encouragement at play in your team. Yeah. I always used to joke, and I still joke about it. I never won the MVP. I used to play basketball and volleyball. Wow. Never won the MVP, but I always won the sportsmanship award.
Really?
Because I was on the bench, like, yeah, go team, like, right? I wasn't on the first line. I was, sometimes second or third line, but I didn't care. I was there. We're traveling together. We're on the bus together. We're doing fun things. I was in my gifts of encouraging other people and having a ball doing that. It was a different vehicle. So anyway, of the gifts that you have, you'll use them in different ways in different places in your life. So it's a fun way to look at it.
Wow. I love it. I love it. I'm curious, with this feel on purpose formula, like depending on where people are at, they might have tons of clarity on, like, oh, I get it. This is my purpose. Or they might be like just at the beginning. If someone, is this better or worse for someone who is like completely unclear, or is there still advantages to, do the sacred gifts test? And for people who feel like they're in their stride and in their momentum, is it still, really insightful and valuable for them?
Absolutely. This work is a work of introspection. It's a work of understanding who you really are, regardless of where you are on the journey. I can't say it's better or worse, depending on where you're at. What I can say is that we've had too many people say to us, I wish I knew this sooner. So, it's not a matter of if, or when. It's a matter of knowing your gifts will shift your perspective. We had one lady who had an entire business plan built out and had been in her business for a couple of years. She was still, startup phase, because a couple of years, you're still pretty fresh, but the business plan was going, she's rocking and rolling, and she did the course. And she said, why didn't I know this 2 years ago? I would have built a different business. So, it just gives you that clarity. For somebody in transition, really not sure, it'll give you that clarity too. So in terms of, I think you're asking, do you need to know what's meaningful to you in order to understand what your gifts are?
It's like, is there still application for it, even when you're kicking butt and taking names in life?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. What it does is it just gives you that license, I'm going to say, to really be who you already are, and then to witness those gifts in others. And if you're at that place in your life where you're taking names and all that stuff, then what I love anyway is I can see and identify the gifts in others and encourage those gifts or foster those gifts. in other people too.
So it's
So
not even just about self-awareness. It's about how do I, going through this program, they'd be able to say, what are your gifts? Or even to direct people to get this same benefit that they've received of, hey, I have this awareness and you should have it too. Like you deserve to know what your sacred gifts are so you can live a fulfilling, on purpose life.
yeah, so we actually have a certification program for coaches who want to be guides and take people through it, which is life-changing for their clients, right? So it gives you this tool in your toolbox. But what I want to say about the relationship piece, let's just go there for a minute. Sure. Because before I knew what my gifts were, there were things about my husband that kind of drove me crazy. Right? Like just being honest, because he's a total visionary. He's got 500 ideas going all at once. He's, and brilliant ideas, but I'm a planner. I have the sacred gift of planning. I have a very strong gift in planning. And I'm like, which one are we doing? Like, which of these ideas do you want to go for? And then I'll execute. Like, just tell me what you want to do. So before I understood gifts, I just thought it was a personality quirk that we were going to constantly have this like idea versus planning thing in our marriage. When I understood gifts and I could see the sacredness of the gifts, different than just a personality quirk or, understanding the humanness behind it. But when I could see the gift of vision in him as a gift, and that his job was to speak the vision. And then those who want to join on to that train are going to join on to that train. And my job with the sacred gift of planning is to choose which vision I want to execute on, is to choose what's meaningful to me, what I want to do to feel more on purpose in my life. So I don't have to do all the visions. I can just, I can have that power of choice as well. So from a relationship perspective, and insight with your partner, with your kids, with family members, that has been huge for a lot of people too. Mm-hmm. Just in seeing, now I get why my mom does that, or now I understand why my kid does that, or now, so it's an awareness for sure.
I love this because I'm on the cutting edge of personal development, personal growth, constantly challenging myself, so number one, this is another tool in the tool belt, so to speak, another layer of distinction, and at the level that this is, it's like purpose. Like there's practically no deeper that this can go in terms of something that's valuable, right? The depth of value, the depth of impact that this has on someone's life. Like I haven't gone through the program yet, but I imagine game changer, freaking game changer, right? Yeah. So that's cool, and I think to my dad. I love my dad. He's awesome. And there's certain things about him, like you said with your husband, like he does certain things. And I'm like, okay, well, what are his gifts? How could I see him through the eyes of spirit, source, creator, God, whatever, with total compassion, total grace, total acknowledgement of his gifts at whatever level he is executing them? Like everyone has their own level of how they're showing up with those gifts. And how could I encourage him? How could I really speak life into him and the things that matter most to him and help illuminate this path for him? And maybe he's not ready to go through the program. Maybe he is. I don't know. But like I could at least be there as a champion for him, having this level of awareness to say, hey man, I love you. And what about this? Like, you want to go do this more? You want to hang out and spend some time doing this? Like, and I would have a vocabulary to be able to speak to what is most meaningful and important to him, which I think would be transformational.
Yeah. I mean, you're saying exactly what happens for the people who go through the program. Exactly. Yeah. It's like you so take off your glasses, Chris, put on a new pair. Like that's basically what it is, right? Yeah. So there you go. So you're looking through entirely new lens. You're seeing the world in a different way. And as a parent, I don't know, do you have kids, Chris?
Not yet. Soon.
Okay. Soon. Oh, you're expecting?
Not yet.
Okay. I was going to be like, whoa, that's exciting. So I have two girls. They're 13 and 11. And one of my daughters has the sacred gift of craftsmanship. One of them has the sacred gift of service. Although I'm wondering if maybe she has the sacred gift of assistance because she seems to just want to help me. So here's an example. My youngest, who I thought had the sacred gift of service, and maybe she does, she'll have to identify it for herself when she's older, but she takes the broom out of the broom closet and sweeps the floor without me asking, or she'll clear the table without me asking, or she'll one day I saw her lift the laundry basket out of the living room because you're folding towels together. She lifted the laundry basket up. She starts carrying it upstairs. And I turned to her and I said, Cassandra, thank you. That's really kind of you to, take the laundry basket upstairs. I didn't ask you to do that. And she looked at me and she just sort of took this sign. She said, Mommy, I just like helping you. And I was like, oh, I could be the beneficiary right now of her sacred gift of assistance, which is a gift where you just want to help another person succeed in whatever it is that they're doing. It's like you're the wind beneath the wings for somebody. You foresee what they need in order to be successful, in order to get things done. Every CEO wants somebody with the gift of assistance on their team. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, as a parent, I can see these gifts, I can foster them. My daughter with the gift of craftsmanship, we have a whole area in her room where she can make the mess that she needs to make with the canvases and the paints and the pens. And I would never show you a picture of it because you'd think I was had no housekeeping abilities whatsoever, because it is so messy. But she has this gift and I get to foster it. Yes. And I get to say, go for it, honey. Like, go create. Without the things that were imposed maybe on me or on a lot of us when parents don't understand sacred gifts, and we're maybe misguided a little bit, or maybe the gifts are kind of shoved down a little bit because they're misunderstood. So things like that. So yeah, it's very empowering.
It's awesome. It's like really connecting. It's one of the deepest levels, I imagine, of soul connecting that we can do as human beings, is seeing that which is most important to someone else. It's like I think we talked about me earlier, being witness and encouraging people, holding space to people. What better contribution or service or beingness can we be than to spot someone else's soul's greatest self-expression and way of being?
Yeah, it feels good. I mean, it feels good to have that awareness and encourage and foster the gifts in others. It feels equally as good to live into your gifts. So knowing and understanding the idea, the concept of gifts, just again, it's a new pair of glasses. It's a new perspective. It's a way of seeing the world in a different light. It's going past the humanness. It's releasing judgment of who I think you are when I look at you and the impression I have of you. All I'm seeing is your humanness. My first impression is just your humanness. But if I come to this call knowing in this human being sitting in front of me right now, there are many gifts at play. And my job is to be of service. My job is to use my gifts. Your job is to use yours. My job is not to judge about who you are and what you do and why you do it or any of that. And it just has you walk around life a little differently.
I love it. I love it, Annette. This is gold. Anything else that you feel our audience needed to know about sacred gifts, about the Feel on Purpose formula, anything else that we can do to really step into them more? Of course, we're going to share how they can get in contact with you, how they can possibly go through the program themselves and get these huge benefits and discover their sacred gifts. But is there anything else you feel they might need to know before making that decision?
Well, I wish we had a live question feed, because that would be way better than me guessing.
Yes.
But I think we've touched on most of the main points that I think would give your listeners an idea of what gifts are. What are gifts? What are they not? They're not skills. They're within us. Where do they come from? How are they different than our humanness, beingness? How many gifts are there? Yeah. How do we use them? How do we align with them? Those are all the things I typically share.
Gold. I love it. This is awesome. So I want to tell people how they can stay connected with you and what are their next steps, and then we'll wrap up the conversation with it's called the Minute to Win It, and it's just a heartfelt message from you about sacred gifts, about people being their greatest possible self, whatever you want to share with them.
That's so funny. I forgot about the Minute to Win It. So you have to totally come from.
You can't do it wrong. If you're coming from your heart, you can't do it wrong.
Tap into it. Okay.
So first of all, let's let them know how they can stay connected with you. what are their next steps? How can they even join the program and continue this work?
Yeah. So I'm easy to find on Facebook. I actually stuck my middle name in there just because there were a lot of Annette Sharpes in the world. So Sharpe is with an E on the end, but my name is Annette Michelle Sharpe on Facebook. Find me there. I also have a private page, Annette Speaker Culture Builder Coach. So there's that. But if you are interested specifically in learning about your sacred gifts and you want to purchase the online program, we do have a digital online program. You can just go to yoursacredgifts.com and all of the information is there. If you're a coach and you're curious about the certification program, you actually do have to do the course first. So, that's the first step to make sure you're really aligned with the message and that kind of thing. There might be some people there going, but I want to be a guide too. So yeah, you need to do that first step, and all of the information there to purchase the program and get started with it is there.
Cool. Awesome.
Yoursacredgifts.com.
Yoursacredgifts.com. And can you remind us who is a good fit and maybe who's not a good fit for the program?
Well, most people are attracted to this work, even if they land on our website, they're a fit because the name of it, Your Sacred Gifts, right? It wouldn't be your listeners. Somebody who wouldn't be a fit would be somebody who's just completely closed-minded. If you, even somebody who might be atheist, doesn't believe in spirituality, would still find some value in it. Awesome. Because it's a bridge between both worlds. And it kind of, actually, we have a guide, funny enough. She kind of came into the program really not connected to her spirituality at all, didn't really believe in that stuff, and she did the sacred gifts work. It got her in touch with her beingness. Wow. And then she decided to become a guide because she loved it so much. And she said it totally opened her up to, a whole new way of looking and seeing the world. So if you're not open to a change, don't do the program. How about that?
Amen. I love it. Super simple. And for people who are really wanting to discover their sacred gifts, wanting to feel more on purpose, more alive, more connected with other human beings, it sounds like that. Those are all people who would be a great fit for the program.
I think if you're coming to a place called Burning It Up Coaching or Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self, you are that person who's looking for this foundational piece. And to me, it's the foundation. It's the piece that makes everything else make sense.
Yeah. I love it. I love it, Annette.
That's my minute to win it right there.
I love it. And we're going to go even deeper. And I want to go even deeper with it because you got so much. You just are a radiant light of love, of purpose, of possibility, of beingness. And I just want to tap into that. Okay. So before that, I just really want to encourage everyone, go to yoursacredgifts.com, go find out about the program, go see what your next steps are with Annette and see how you can continue your journey with her. Also search Annette Michelle Sharpe and you can find her on Facebook as well. So Annette, just what do you feel like the world needs to hear today? Maybe someone out there who's suffering, who's in a challenging place, or just what you've seen that the world needs to step into. What is that?
Yeah, the thing that every single person needs to know is that you have sacred gifts and they're in you to share with others. There's a reason why you're here. There are no accidents. And if you're in a place of discomfort, or if you're in a place of challenge or change or transition, who you are is not what you're experiencing outside of yourself right now. And getting in touch with the truth of who you are, this might sound cheesy, but it will set you free from those shackles of being held and confined. What I want every single person to know is that you have a reason for being here, and it can be simple, it can be huge, but you have gifts to share with others. So if you can walk away with that, if you can walk away just knowing that you have gifts and not even knowing what they are, but that you have them, then I'm happy I've done my job.
Amen. Amen. And if you need a reminder, write it on a sticky note. Remind yourself. Put it on your fridge, put it on your mirror, put it on your phone. You have gifts. If you're at a place where you're looking for that inspiration, you're looking how do I get through today? If you're at that place, write it down. If you are knowing you have great potential and you just need that reminder to stay on track, right? Hey,
I just thought of one more thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just interrupted. I just thought of one more thing. The feeling of Oh, shoot. Now I lost it. Okay. It's not important. I'll put it in the comments somewhere. It was there and now it's gone. I guess I wasn't supposed to say it.
Well, I love it. I love it. It's perfect. And, for anyone who wants to find out what that is, they can definitely send you a message and let you know, Annette, how powerful this conversation was. I've loved it. And I know the work that you're doing in the world is helping thousands already, and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions more to come, because I know you're just getting started. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you and for sharing your sacred gifts with our audience.
Thanks, Chris. It's been so much fun. I appreciate you too.
Awesome. I appreciate you. Have a great day.
Okay, bye.